The elevator stopped so violently that my shoulder slammed against the mirrored wall hard enough to make my vision blur for a second. Then everything went dark. Not completely dark. Emergency lights flickered dim red across the small elevator cabin, turning the polished steel walls into something cold and claustrophobic. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then a woman's voice broke the silence. Wonderful, sharp, controlled, annoyed in the kind of way expensive people sounded when life inconvenienced them. I looked up immediately, and nearly forgot where I was. Because standing 3 feet away from me was Victoria Hale, CEO of Hale International. The most powerful woman in the building. Maybe the city. Every employee inside the 70-story tower knew her face. Business magazines called her the Iron Woman of Chicago. Employees called her something else behind her back. Untouchable. Ruthless. The woman who once fired an executive during a live board meeting without changing her expression. And now, I was trapped inside an elevator with her. Fantastic. Victoria pressed the emergency button again impatiently. Nothing. No signal, she muttered. I checked my phone. 1 bar. Call maintenance. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because apparently billionaires thought elevators obeyed authority too. They already know, I said. The whole building probably felt that stop. Victoria crossed her arms. Expensive white suit. Perfect posture. Cold expression. Even trapped underground, she somehow looked intimidating. Meanwhile, I probably looked like exactly what I was. A tired 30-year-old architect carrying takeout noodles home after another 14-hour shift. Victoria finally looked directly at me. Recognition flickered briefly across her face. You work here. 42nd floor. Architecture division. I blinked. You know that. I know everyone important in my buildings. That answer irritated me instantly. Good to know the rest of us are invisible. Her expression hardened slightly. Interesting. Maybe nobody spoke to her like that. Good. Someone should. Minutes passed. Then 30. No rescue. The elevator remained frozen somewhere between floors. The air slowly felt warmer. Smaller. Victoria removed her blazer carefully. And that's when I noticed something strange. Her hands were shaking. Very slightly. At first I thought maybe she was angry. Then the elevator lights flickered again. Victoria immediately turned away sharply. Too sharply. That caught my attention. You okay? I'm fine. Immediate answer. Too immediate. Then the elevator jerked slightly again. And Victoria grabbed the railing beside her hard enough for her knuckles to whiten. Oh, not anger. Fear. That changed everything. You're claustrophobic, I realized quietly. Her jaw tightened instantly. No. Another lie. Bad one. I watched her breathing carefully. Too fast. Her shoulders stiffened every time the walls creaked. Suddenly the most powerful woman in Chicago didn't look powerful anymore. She looked trapped. And terrified. Interesting. Very interesting. Victoria noticed me watching. Don't what? Look at me like that. Like what? Like you suddenly know something about me. The honesty in that answer surprised both of us. Then the elevator lights flickered again. Victoria closed her eyes briefly. One controlled breath. Then another. Not enough. Panic attacks. I recognized the signs immediately. My younger sister used to get them. Hey, I said carefully. Sit down. I said I'm fine. You're about 30 seconds away from collapsing. That made her glare at me. But she still sat down. Slowly. Carefully. Like losing control terrified her more than the elevator itself. I sat on the opposite side to give her space. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then quietly, she admitted. I hate small spaces. Yeah, I figured. I wasn't always like this. There it was. The crack in the armor. People usually revealed truths in trapped places. Physically trapped. Emotionally trapped. Same thing sometimes. What happened? I asked before thinking. Victoria stared at the elevator doors silently. Then unexpectedly answered. When I was 16, Our family plane crashed. That sentence hit like ice water. I stayed completely still. We were trapped inside part of the cabin for 6 hours, she continued quietly. My father died before rescue arrived. The elevator suddenly felt even smaller. More human. More dangerous somehow. Because now I understood something nobody in the building probably knew. Victoria Hale didn't fear elevators. She feared helplessness. That explained the control, the perfection, the coldness. People built armor around old pain. Some just built better armor than others. I'm sorry, I said quietly. She looked surprised by the sincerity in my voice. Most people probably responded to her with fear. Or ambition. Not sincerity. That changed something subtle between us. An hour later, maintenance still hadn't freed the elevator. Victoria's assistant finally reached her phone. Ma'am, the city power surge damaged the emergency systems. They're working on it. How long? Silence. Bad sign. We're not sure yet. Victoria ended the call without another word. Then suddenly laughed once. Not happy laughter. Exhausted laughter. I had $3 billion meetings today. And now I'm sitting on an elevator floor beside a man holding cold noodles. I looked down at the takeout bag still in my hand. Fair point. Want some? Victoria stared at me in disbelief. You're offering me noodles. You look like someone who forgot to eat today. That hit too accurately. Her expression shifted slightly. How would you know that? Because powerful people always skip meals when stressed. A pause. Then unexpectedly, Victoria smiled. Tiny smile. But real. That alone felt historic. I haven't eaten since yesterday morning, she admitted quietly. I handed her the noodles. For a second she hesitated. Probably because nobody had offered her cheap takeout food in 20 years. Then she accepted it. And somehow, watching the city's most feared CEO eating noodles from a cardboard container on an elevator floor became the strangest moment of my life. And weirdly, one of the most normal. By the second hour, the atmosphere changed completely. The elevator no longer felt formal. Or professional. Just human. Victoria removed her heels finally and leaned back against the wall looking exhausted. You're not scared of me, she noticed suddenly. Should I be? Most employees are. Maybe that's the problem. She studied me carefully after that. Like she couldn't decide if I was brave or stupid. Probably both. What's your name? She asked. I blinked. You don't know. I know your department. Not your name. Ethan Brooks. She nodded once slowly. Why are you still at the company? That question surprised me. What do you mean? You turned down 2 promotions. Now I stared at her. You know that too. Victoria looked almost offended. I read every executive recommendation personally. That explained a lot. I didn't want the promotions, I admitted. Why? More money meant less time with my daughter. That changed her expression instantly. You have a child. She's 7. Victoria looked away strangely after that. Like something about the answer affected her more than expected. Then quietly, I wanted children once. There was something painful buried beneath that sentence. Something unfinished. I didn't push. Good thing too. Because seconds later, the elevator suddenly slammed. Downward half a foot. Victoria gasped sharply, and instinctively grabbed my arm. The lights flickered violently. For one terrifying second, it felt like the elevator might actually fall. Then it stopped again. Silence. Heavy breathing. Victoria still gripping my arm tightly. I looked down slowly. She realized it too, and immediately let go. But not before I noticed something important. Her hands were freezing cold. You okay? I asked softly. She nodded too fast again. Then suddenly whispered, I can't do this. First honest fear all night. Not polished. Not controlled. Real fear. I moved beside her slowly. Look at me. She hesitated. Then did. We're getting out. You don't know that. No. But panicking won't help either. Victoria laughed weakly. You sound like you've done this before. I hesitated. Then answered honestly. My wife died in a car accident 3 years ago. The silence afterward felt enormous. She was trapped too, I admitted quietly. Victoria stared at me, and suddenly, everything between us changed. Not attraction. Understanding. Deep understanding. Two strangers carrying completely different grief. Inside one trapped elevator. Hours passed. Outside, rain hammered against the skyscraper windows somewhere far above us. Inside, the emergency lights dimmed lower. Victoria sat beside me now instead of across from me. Closer. Comfortable. At some point professionalism disappeared entirely. We talked about stupid things. Coffee. Bad architecture. Why pineapple didn't belong on pizza. For the first time in years, Victoria laughed freely. No boardroom smile. No controlled billionaire composure. Just laughter. Real laughter. And honestly, she looked younger when she forgot to be feared. Then came the twist neither of us expected. Her phone buzzed. A message preview appeared across the screen. From Daniel Mercer. My stomach dropped slightly. I knew that name. Everyone did. Daniel Mercer. Her biggest competitor. Rumored boyfriend. The media practically treated them like corporate royalty. Victoria saw me notice the message. And her expression changed instantly. Cold again. Guarded. What? She asked sharply. Nothing. You know who he is. Hard not to. Silence. Then quietly. We're not together. Interesting. She said it too quickly. Like she needed me to know. Why did that matter? Then she added something even stranger. He proposed last month. Oh. I stayed silent. Victoria stared down at the unread message. I said no. That shocked me enough to actually laugh once. You rejected one of the richest men in America. I rejected a business merger pretending to be love. That answer stayed in my head. Because suddenly I understood something terrifying about Victoria Hale. She wasn't cold because she lacked emotions. She was cold because nobody ever approached her without wanting something. Money, power, status. Everything around her came with conditions. Everything except a broken elevator. And maybe that was why this felt so different. Near midnight, loud banging echoed outside the elevator walls. Rescue team. Finally, Victoria visibly exhaled in relief. And strangely, something inside my chest tightened. Because I realized the second those doors opened, whatever this strange connection was would disappear. The elevator doors slowly pried apart inch by inch. Bright hallway light flooded inside. Voices. Movement. Reality returning. Rescue workers reached toward us. You're safe now. Victoria stood carefully, then paused, and looked back at me. Not CEO to employee. Not billionaire to architect. Just Victoria. For one quiet second, neither of us moved. Then the doors opened completely. And every person outside froze. Executives. Security teams. Assistants. Media photographers somehow already there. All staring at the impossible sight. Victoria Hale walking out of a trapped elevator. Holding my hand. The cameras exploded instantly. Flashes everywhere. Questions shouted. But Victoria ignored all of them. Instead, she turned toward me in front of the entire crowd and said the one thing nobody expected. Cancel my meetings tomorrow. Her assistant blinked in shock. Victoria never canceled meetings. Ever. Then she looked directly at me again. And softly, almost nervously, asked, Ethan, would you have dinner with me when neither of us is trapped?